Yeah, and I'll tell you what, on that south side of Broadway, there was probably 200.
Yeah, it's just kind of safer in some situations.
There's a plot.
Just depending on your real estate.
Like Brent Hunter is there and all that, the guys that help, they come out and
And if you could ask them about that,
they went, one was crazy, it went sideways, one went, many went, the road come down and all that, but probably the closest one was down by the.
as long as you say
Really?
Dad?
We were looking for it, I didn't get a car station.
No, I just saw a Bronco, and so I'd asked Justin about it, but I'm gonna be broke this summer after these weddings, so.
Good evening. I'll call the Butte-Silver Council of Commissioners Committee of the Whole for Wednesday, July 13th, 2020. Can we have roll call, please?
10 present, 1 absent, 1 presiding.
Please record show that Commissioner Shaw is excused. Commissioner Shorch, prayer and the pledge, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, fellow commissioners. Almighty God, we implore you, look upon us and guide us this night as we make decisions which shall greatly affect our community of Butte-Silver. Direct our thoughts, words, and deeds so that we please you and best serve our fellow citizens. Amen. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. I'll ask for any public comment on any items on the agenda. All right, seeing none. No report from this chair. We'll go into Section 1, bid openings, public hearings, and/or presentations. Communication number 2022-3-4, Timothy Leahy, USDA District Ranger, requesting Council of Commissioners authorization for a presentation on July 13th, 2022 on the proposed Herman Gulch acquisition and a request of letter of support for this project. Mr. Leahy.
Good evening, Tim Leahy.
Oh.
There we go. Good evening, Tim Leahy, Butte District Ranger. Thank you for having us, and I have another Tim here as well. Go ahead.
Hi, Tim Olson. I'm a realty specialist with the Forest Service, and we're trying to keep it simple here, so Tim and Tim.
So we have a brief 5 to 10 minute discussion about a piece of property that we're looking to acquire on the south end of town around Herman Gulch, and I'll let Tim go over some of the details there. And like you said, we are looking for a letter of support if the commission does indeed support this property acquisition. Go ahead, Tim.
Alrighty. I'll wait for a few more seconds till the rest of the handouts get distributed here. That way everybody can kind of follow along with me. Alrighty. So as Tim said, we have a proposal to acquire some lands about 6 miles south of Butte in the Highland Mountains. It's approximately 431 acres, and it is in the vicinity of Herman Gulch. So if you turn to the third page, there's a map right there that kind of shows you roughly where this property is located. And the plan for this property is that we do plan to apply for fiscal year ~24 land and conservation funding to pay for this property. So part of that process is that we will submit our proposal in the end of this fiscal year '22. There's a 2-year delay from the time that you apply to when you can potentially get awarded funding through LWCF. It's not a guarantee that we would receive funding through LWCF, but we feel as though this is a strong project. It's very important, we believe, to the community of Butte. There's an extensive trail system down there that's very popular with the residents in and around the Sagebrush Flats and Thompson Park area. So this would butt up right against that area, and it would allow us potential to extend the trail network down there into the future. It's very important wildlife habitat as well. It's frequented year-round by elk and deer, occasional moose as well. For the botanists in the group, there's some really unique aspen stands. There are very diverse ecosystems, as well as a nice stand of conifers as well. So the current landowners have done a fabulous job of maintaining the stand down there, doing some fuels and some timber removal as well, so it's in a healthy state, and something that we are definitely interested in acquiring. So on the second page, you'll see some tax information. We commonly get asked about some of the tax revenue associated with these parcels of land. The 2021 taxes on this property came in a little over $373. We do feel as though this project would qualify for payment in lieu of taxes to help to offset this potential loss of tax revenue. Some ballpark figures on that, we can talk about that if people have kind of questions. Yeah. And then a nice scenic overlook of the property looking directly to the west. So not only could we incorporate this into our trail system, but it also gives users a fabulous view to the west of the valley, as well as looking north towards the town of Butte. So a very unique piece of property, and we feel as though it would be very popular with recreationalists. I guess I can open it up for any questions.
Yeah, all right. Does any of the commission? Yes, Commissioner Reardon.
Thank you, Chairman, or Chair. Yeah, I have some questions and all that. Basically, I think it's a great deal and all that. I'm not really understanding. I understand that, where you're at and what you're doing and all that. And I guess my question to you would be is the purpose I see is more or less conservation, is that correct?
Correct.
All right, and then also, where would this apply? Is this species that are prevalent in this area? Is that covered under the Fish, Wildlife, and Parks? And if it is, basically, what would be the relationship? Would that cover basically the specs in their book, or would there be a different designation as this as I would say a wildlife area? I guess that's what my question is.
You want to touch on that? So just to reiterate your question, you're asking the correlation between this potential acquisition and how it would relate with maybe Fish, Wildlife, and Parks and how they manage the wildlife?
Well, that is correct, or is this basically a conservation? I get that. But I mean, is there going to be a special thing? Because usually sometimes with these conservation areas of property, you guys would know more about that, there's a different set of specs that sometimes apply to these areas. Is that correct?
I'll jump in. I can't speak for FWP and their regulations on
Right.
wildlife management, but I can say if we were to be successful here and this becomes Forest Service property, how would we manage it? It'd be
Right.
pretty typical of the land around there, which does have multiple use, timber, range, recreation, those types of uses in this area.
Okay.
Does that kind of get at your question?
Yeah, it does, and all that stuff.
Yeah, follow up, Commissioner Reardon?
Yeah, right. Basically, then, I would have one more question and all that, so more or less as a conservation scenario and all that, this wouldn't be a prelude to, say, timber sales or anything like that?
It could certainly be a possibility in the area. As Tim mentioned, the private landowner did some timber removal, I think 15, 20 years ago. It could be possible, but it would be the typical way that the Forest Service manages timber and fuels.
Okay, thank you.
So it's not a complete hands-off, we acquire it, and
I
it'll
get
be
it.
working land.
I get it, you got to manage it, but I think it's a great deal. I mean, it's a good location. I think the people in this area would really enjoy it and all that, and I appreciate you guys doing what you do. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions from the commissioners? Commissioner Fisher.
Thank you, Chairman Frederickson. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here. Does this have any input from the neighbors or the people that live out there, or is it well beyond their boundary lines?
You want to take?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Olson?
Yeah, this is the first, I guess, public awareness that we are having with this whole proposal. We wanted to approach you all first before we, made it more, I guess, more or less public knowledge. Without a doubt, we will talk with the neighbors, in the coming months and years and everything to, to get their feel for it. We have had to work with a few of their neighbors just on some access. The primary access to the public for this project will be to the south on that 8493 road, which goes right up Herman Gulch. However, for some of our, preliminary surveys of the area to get a holistic kind of approach of the area, we've gone in through the north via some of the landowners up there. So they are, they've given us permission to go in there, and they are, I guess, more or less aware that we're in there and that we're looking at the property, but nothing has been formally disclosed yet.
Follow-up, Commissioner Fisher.
Thank you, Chairman Frederickson. Thank you, gentlemen. I find your proposal to be interesting. I would like to do a little research and follow through this a little bit, and then possibly make a recommendation for the letter of support. Thank you.
Certainly, thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Makins.
Thank you, Commissioner Frederickson. Yeah, thanks, Tim and Tim, for the great presentation. Can you tell us who owns this land at this point right now?
The current landowner has asked that his name not be private at this time, so we'd like to respect his wishes.
Okay.
Yep, follow-up, Commissioner
So
Makins.
when you talked about like access, and I know that you've talked about different things of different property and landowners that you're going to access through their property, is there any concern with that later on once you actually, if this does work out and you actually purchase this land, that you could be denied from these access areas?
Yeah, that's something we definitely look at when we acquire property. We want to make sure there is legal access in the area. And as Tim mentioned, it's at Herman Gulch Road to the south of the property, and that'll be the main access point for...
Does that just go through one other property owner?
I believe it goes through a few property owners, but the Forest Service does have legal access through that area. And there already is a trailhead out there as well.
Thank you.
Did you have any more?
All right. Commissioner Sorge.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the presentation. I just got one quick question. What's the purpose for the boundary, their steps boundary, instead of kind of a rectangular? What's the why?
You want to speak to that?
Yeah.
It's existing boundary.
Yeah, so the red, you're kind of talking about the 90-degree angles in there. Yep, so that's just the existing ownership that is in the name of the family. So that's just the land that they actually own and that they are interested in working with the forest on, conveying, so.
Okay.
Yeah, it has that unique kind of a stair-step look to it, though.
It does.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, I'll just say, I love access, or more trails in that area is just great. I think I've been on the Herman Gulch Trail already, and so, yeah, I fully support it, so.
And if I may,
Yeah, go ahead, Mr.
we
Lee.
often will come to local governments to ask for support. We'll also go to local interest groups, think of like Friends of Thompson Park, local hunting groups, to also solicit letters of support. So we like to have a broad range of support locally.
Thank you for the presentation. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move into Section 1 Communications. One, communication number 2022-296, Danette Gleason, Finance and Budget Director, notifying the Council of Commissioners that the fiscal year 2023 preliminary budget will be referred to the Finance and Budget Committee for the July 6, 2022 Finance and Budget Committee meeting, which will be scheduled to start at 5:30 PM in the council chambers. Do you want to speak to this? Okay. We'll hold this one. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Director Gleason has asked that we just hold this communication, as also next, we are going to be forwarding the budget, preliminary budget, to the regular meeting next week, and also this will be on the agenda for next week also, just as kind of a placeholder for the...
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you. Two, communication number 2022-305, Mark Neary, Public Works Director, requesting Council of Commissioners authorization to schedule a bid opening for July 6, 2022 for the above-ground fuel tanks for the city and county. We had this bid opening last week, so Commissioner Anderson.
Thank you very much, Chairman. At this time, I would make a motion to place communication 2022305 on file.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Can commissioners please vote? Can clerk record the vote?
11 yea, 0 nay.
11 yea, 0 nay, motion passes. Number three, communication number 2022-332, Karen Burns, Community Development Director, requesting Council of Commissioners authorization to schedule RFP opening on July 6, 2022, related to the Finland Hotel Fire Suppression Project funded by CDBG ED grant awarded to Butte-Silver. We had this bid opening last week, so Commissioner Anderson.
At this time, I'd like to place communication 2022332 on file.
We have a motion and a second. Can commissioners please vote? Can clerk record the vote?
11 yea, 0 nay.
11 yea, 0 nay, motion passes. Number four, communication number 2022-342, Danette Gleason, Finance and Budget Director, requesting Council of Commissioners authorization for a presentation on July 20th, 2022, for a presentation on the fiscal year 2023 budget. We will have that presentation next week, so we will hold that. Number five, communication number 2022-347, Timothy Leahy, USDA District Ranger, requesting Council of Commissioners authorization for a presentation on July 13th, 2022 on the proposed Herman Gulch acquisition and a request for a letter of support for this project. Mr. Leahy and Mr. Olson just spoke with us. Commissioner Anderson.
Thank you very much, Chairman. This time, I'd like to make a motion to support this communication 22347 and draft a letter of support and continue to hold this communication until such time that this letter is drafted and signed.
Do we get a second there? Oh, we have a motion and a second. Can commissioners please vote? Oh, is there anything on the question? Sorry, Commissioner Fisher.
Thank you, Chairman Frederickson. I believe we do want to send a letter of support, but I think we should let the people that live out in that area weigh in a little bit before we make a recommendation that might not be favorable to some. This is the early stages of this project, and I fully support it, but I do think it's in our best interest to note and file this communication and see what devolves before we start supporting this. Thank you. So I'd make a substitute motion that we note, place on file communication 2022-347. Thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the substitute motion to place on file this communication? Yep, anything on the question? Commissioner Callahan?
I guess, thank you, Chairman. I guess if we do that, do they have to come back with a new communication, or do we, yeah?
Yeah, so I spoke with County Attorney Joyce about this earlier, and we would have to come back with another communication.
Would it be better just to do what Bill's saying and hold it until they have their meeting?
I guess I'll refer to the county attorney for that advice.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There could be a motion just to simply hold it and not agree to prepare the letter of support yet. But you're right that if it is placed on file, there would have to be a new communication that would have to be submitted to, again, request a letter of support later. So there probably have to be a motion to end all motions to just simply hold it in abeyance, or have Commissioner Anderson amend his original motion, if that's what is the pleasure.
Commissioner Shea?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a point of clarification. Wasn't Commissioner Fisher's substitute motion just to hold this in abeyance, or was it to place it on file?
Yeah, it was to place it on
Gotcha.
file.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
All right, we have a substitute motion to place on file. Okay. Can commissioners vote? Can clerk record the vote?
8 yay, 2 nay.
3 nay, I hit the wrong button, sorry.
8 yay, 3 nay.
Okay, 8-3-0 nay. Motion passes to place the communication on file. Yes, Commissioner Reardon.
Thank you, Chairman. I guess probably is that what we just did here and all that, would it be permissible that we, when we are ready to notify these people that they are to appear again? Is there any process there?
Oh, yeah, thank you, Commissioner Reardon. I don't think they have to show up again. We would just have to place another communication with a letter of support, and then we would vote on that communication.
Okay.
And if that communication passed, well, we would draft a letter, and if it didn't, then we wouldn't.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, number 6, communication number 2022-354, Eileen Joyce, BSV County Attorney, requesting Council of Commissioners to complete the state-approved SUD treatment and prevention form for submission back to DPHHS Addictive and Mental Disorders Division. We spoke with County Attorney Joyce, and Barb has contacted the folks to schedule presentations within the next couple weeks on where the fund's going, so we will hold this in advance. And right now, I'll ask for any public comment on any matter not on the agenda. Seeing none, I will take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor, say aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.